more and more of them definitely will help. So here we have the Bowdabra. What I've just placed inside is a small piece of the Bowdabra wire. This comes in a 100-yard spool or 300 feet, and this will last you a really long time. I've been using this for months, and as you can see, we still have plenty of it. So let's start off creating, let's do a 3-ribbon bow. I don't think we've ever done one of those before in a video, but as you guys come in, let me know where you're watching from. I'm here in Massachusetts with my older sister Alex. She just got home 2 minutes ago, and she's lovely enough to be down here recording for me. So we have these 3 ribbons right here. We could be using these 3, we could be using those 4. Basically, it's all the same once you create them, so I definitely recommend starting with 2 and then gradually working your way up. So let's start with 2 of these ribbons and show you guys how to make a 2-ribbon bow. So here we have 2 rolls of this gingham ribbon, and these colors remind me of spring and summer, but the red especially reminds me of summer. It kind of looks like a picnic table. Well, not kind of. It is a picnic table tablecloth. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off some tails. So the tails can be however long you want. You can cut them longer. I always recommend cutting them longer than you actually anticipate up until you get the hang of it. That way you don't have any ribbon left over. So we're going to start off with our tails. We're going to take the 2 ends, place them together. This ribbon's really thin, which is why we can get away with cutting through 4 pieces of ribbon. So I'm going to take all 4, line them up, fold them in half, and then we're going to cut from the middle out towards the wired edge. And that does, what does this create, Alex?
Dovetails.
Dovetails. So that's what this creates, and that creates a finishing look on your bows, where you can scrap those pieces of ribbon, take our tails, place them back in the Bowdabra, in the middle twist, and that essentially this is a third hand keeping everything composed. A lot of you guys struggle with holding your bows, and my biggest tip for that is don't have a death grip on it. You don't need to be holding it with so much force, and basically what this does is acts as a third hand, so you don't actually have to hold them. We're going to take our 2 ribbons, line them up, doesn't matter which one's on top, which one's on bottom, and place them into our Bowdabra. Notice right here that we have about 1/2 inch of an overhang. That is incredibly important. You never want to place your ribbon right at the seam like that, or else you pose a risk of it sliding out. So always leave a little bit of leeway. I'm going to take our ribbon, just throw them to the floor. I find it easiest to work with them when they're on the floor. And then we're going to create loops. So since we have 2 ribbons, keep in mind every time we create a loop, it's actually going to be double the amount you see. So right now we've already added 2 loops. So if you want a really full bow, it's not going to take nearly as many loops as it would with a single ribbon, simply because every time we add a loop, it's just doubling each time. So I am pinching in the middle and twisting it. So here we have the yellow on top, but then when we gather our loops together on the other side, the purple's on top right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pinch that and twist it all the way around so that the yellow's on top. For this particular ribbon, it's not incredibly important since both of these are the same print on either side. But if you're dealing with ribbons that we're going to work with in a couple minutes, it is important to twist your ribbons or else you lose the printed side. So we're probably going to do about 3 or 4 loops on either side. I think that should be enough to create a rather full bow. And these bows can be used anywhere. But give some hearts or some wow faces or some likes if you guys enjoy these tutorials. You guys know that I love creating these videos for you, and hopefully you guys enjoy them as much as I like creating them.
So we've got lots of people watching today. We have Marlene from Southeast Louisiana. We have Vanita from Arizona. We have Lehan from Mississippi. Cheryl says, how did you know I've been trying to make a bow for an hour?
Awesome. Well, hopefully this video helps. Welcome, everybody. So if you don't mind taking a second and sharing this video, I greatly appreciate it. It helps us reach more people. So now that we've cut off our loops, notice again we have about 1/2 inch of an overhang. Again, important to keep the integrity of your bow. You don't want your bow falling apart. We're going to take our wires, bring them to one side, and place them through the loop. And then we'll just pull it really, really tight. And then we can take our bow out. So right now it's not tied together, so if you do kind of play around with it, it will fall apart. So then I'm going to take the wires, bring them to the front, one of them, and then wrap it around, and then we're going to tie it closed. And what that'll do is just make sure that it's not going to fall apart. So now we're just going to do a simple knot. And here we have a bow. Doesn't that look hideous? Now we're going to make it look beautiful. So we're going to pull our tails down, and keep in mind this is wired ribbon. This ribbon is an incredibly thick, the wire is not incredibly thick, or the fabric, but it still holds its shape greatly if you do have wired ribbon. I don't use wired ribbon with every project, especially with fresh flowers. I like to use non-wired ribbon. I just think it looks a little bit better having the ribbon kind of have a free motion, if you will. But now what we can do is we can start separating our loops just by pulling them apart. Very easy. But I thought we would also make a paw print wreath, paw print bow today. So let me know if you guys would like to see that. We have some paw print ribbon, and that was a design that we created a few years back using some smaller grapevine wreaths, and it was very popular, and you guys seem to really enjoy that. So I figured we show you guys how to make a bow using that ribbon. So now we have all of our ribbon pulled apart. We can find our wires and do one more quick little fluff. And the best time to fluff your bows or fluff whatever you're doing is actually when it's secured to whatever you display your bow on, whether it be a wreath, a swag, a garland, a lantern, a mailbox, anything. It's always easiest and best to fluff one more time once you attach it to that. But here we have a very simple 2-ribbon bow. Give some hearts if you guys like that. Not complex at all. Make sure I like it before I show you guys. All right, I do. So very simple. The principle's the same. Just keep in mind that you're using 2 ribbons, so you have double the amount of loops than if you were to use just one. So now let's cut another piece of our Bowdabra wire right here. And it's always better to cut it a little bit longer, and then you can trim it away afterwards rather than cut it too short, because then you're going to have to rewire the entire bow. And let's use these 2 ribbons. So here we have a 2.5-inch ribbon and a 1.5-inch ribbon. This one I believe is called a pinstripe. It doesn't say on it, and this is just a basic canvas ribbon. But they match perfectly, and these are from 2 different vendors. So sometimes you're able to find ribbons that match perfectly, and if you're not, don't sit there and try to make it match. Try to do something a little bit different or contrast nicely. So this ribbon's nice and thick and sturdy, which is exactly what we want. So let's create some rather long tails. These tails are going to be about 20 inches long, and I usually give you guys kind of a guideline for how big these bows are in particular, but it totally depends on the project you're creating and basically how big you want your bow. So if these bows are too big for you or too small for you, feel free to customize. That's the beauty in designing and bow making, is that you can customize it to whatever project you're making. So these tails, again, about 24 inches. We'll place them inside the Bowdabra. And then what we can do actually is we can add our other tail before we start doing a different technique. So this one's going to be a little bit smaller. We're going to cut these tails only about 20 inches, in total about 40 since we're doubling it. Again, take our ribbons, fold them in half, and what are we doing, Alex?
Dovetail.
Dovetailing. Just cutting it from the middle out towards the wired edge. So now we have 2 different lengths of tails, and keep in mind nothing has to be the same. You could actually lopside it so that one side's longer than the other, and you'll still have a beautiful effect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with a 2.5-inch, place it in our Bowdabra. Notice we have a little bit of an overhang again, and then create, let's do either 4 or 6 loops. So we're just creating similar size loops. Notice I'm not measuring them. You guys can totally measure them if you want them to be exact. I've never really found a need to do that. I'm kind of a lazy bow maker, a lazy designer, and I don't sit there and measure them out. You just kind of eyeball it. If it looks good to the human eye, it'll look good on whatever project. So here we have 4 loops, and we can kind of see if we like to have only 4, or we can do 6. We'll do 6, and then we'll come back in with the other ribbon. But if you guys, again, don't mind sharing this for those of you that are just joining, I greatly appreciate it. It helps us reach and inspire more people. And also, if you have any questions along the way as to what we're doing, feel free to leave a comment. My sister is here helping us, and she'll read off a comment to me, and I will help answer it. So now we have 3 loops on either side. We're going to come back in with the 1.5-inch pinstripe. And these loops are going to be a little bit smaller, and we're probably going to do, we could do either 4 or 5. We could have a little bow tie in the middle. And for those of you that might need practice with bow making, feel free to just use cheap ribbon. I mean, these ribbons were only, you know, $4 or $5 a roll for 10 yards. Not the cheapest ribbon. Of course, you can find ribbon cheaper. But even if you just get a cheap roll of ribbon, as long as it has good wire and it's a decent quality ribbon, feel free to practice with it. You don't have to cut it up. You can kind of just create a bow using one continuous piece and then practice, practice, practice using that one piece. So now we've created 4 loops on either side. We're going to create a smaller loop for the middle portion so that we cover up our mechanics. Let's see if that's small enough, and that seems to be okay for me. So we're going to push our ribbon down, take our wire, and feed it through. And then we can take out our bow. Again, at this point, the bow's not contained. We just have one wire holding it up. So we're going to take one of these wires, bring it towards the back from the front, pull it really tight again, and tie it from behind.
Someone would like to know what kind of scissors you're using.
So I'm using Fiskars. For those of you that have been watching me for years, you guys know I love Betty Crocker scissors from the dollar store. You don't have to have expensive equipment by any means. These ones were probably $20+ and we used 50% off coupons or even 60% off coupons to purchase these from craft stores. They last a very long time. I've had this pair for a long time, and sometimes I just can't find it, so I'll end up using the Betty Crocker scissors. So now we're just fluffing open our bow, and if you are interested in winning a free roll of ribbon, we have some scrunchy ribbon that Bowdabra is giving away today. So if you're interested in winning a free roll of ribbon, comment down below that you'd like to win, and you could be the lucky winner for today's live. And who doesn't love free ribbon? So.
We have a few people wondering why you keep turning the Bowdabra when you make the bow.
Yep, so that's a great question, and it goes back to me being lazy. You can, of course, manipulate your hands to kind of move with the device, but I'm the opposite. I like to move the device to my hands. So I just twist it around and around as I add a loop. Just that way I don't have to go back and forth. There's really no reason behind it. It's just something that I've kind of did and it works for me. And this tool, the way I'm doing it, is not going to be 100% perfect for you. You're going to have to work with it, get used to the tool, and practice with it, and then you'll find your perfect way to create bows.
Shawnee would like to know what your favorite width of ribbon to use is.
So that's a great question, and my favorite width for ribbon is 1.5 inch. I love the look of it, and 99% of my designs will either have 1.5 inch ribbon, and then a select few will have both 1.5 and 2.5 inch ribbon. But my preference and the majority of my ribbons are 1.5 inch. So here we have our bow, and as I said before, the best way to kind of fluff it and adjust it is once it's actually secured to whatever piece you're working with. So here we have a very simple, I don't even know what we'd call this, 2 different type ribbons. We have a little bow tie in the middle with 5 loops and then 6 loops of the 2.5 inch. I love this style bow, and it works for any season and any holiday, and you can basically just use scraps to create a bow like that. So our next bow, let's see what else we got. We have the dog paw print. So this is one of my favorite ribbons. Give some hearts if this is cute. Bless you.
Thank you.
Give some hearts if you guys think this is cute. This is one of my favorite ribbons to work with. And people seem to go crazy for the paw print ribbon. And I've always wondered, I know this is a dog paw print, but do cats' paw prints look kind of similar to this?
I think so.
I think so too. I don't know if, I think it would work for cats, but for those of you that have cats, let me know if you guys would use that for cats. We have a dog. So let's do another 2 ribbon bow. These are one of my favorites to make. Actually, let's do kind of a funky bow. So we have, again, a piece of wire. We're going to cut a length off. And for those of you that are just tuning in, wondering where the heck is Sandy, tonight Sandy is not feeling well, so I did take over for the live. So hopefully you guys like me. Obviously not more than Sandy, because Sandy is wonderful and amazing. But hopefully I'm doing an okay job. So we're going to take 2 of these ribbons. Let's see what we want to do. You know what? We'll just do a funky bow. So we're going to take our ribbon and essentially create a giant loop, about 5.5, 6 inches wide, with some tails that are about 8 to 10 inches. And this is where you really can kind of mess around with your ribbons. You can create tails that are shorter. So as you can see, this one's a little bit shorter than the other one. This particular bow does not have to be the same by any means. So we have 2 tails on one side, 1 loop on the other side, and we're going to alternate with this Harlequin ribbon, another one of my favorites to use. And instead of doing what I did in the first time, here's another example of how to add your ribbon. You could just create a tail, twist it in the middle, create a loop, and do it this way. There's so many different ways to use this device and create bows. Nothing is set in stone, and if somebody tries to tell you that there's this way to make a bow and this is the right way versus wrong way, there's no right or wrong way as long as you have a beautiful outcome. So keep that in mind as you're designing. So this is one of my favorite bows to create. We're using just 2 ribbons today, but if we had only about a yard or 2 of scrap pieces, you could certainly use that in this design. All you need is about a yard of each ribbon, if that, depending on the size bow. Again, cut off our tails. And we'll do one more, just for good luck. So if you have any questions, comment them down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them during this live. So now I'm just going to push my ribbons down, take our wires, do the same process that we did before, put it through one of the holes, and pull it together.
Donna would like to know if you always use wired ribbon.
So that's a great question. So I'm also a florist, so when I do fresh floral designs, typically I work with non-wired ribbon. For the most part, there's other designs that I use wired ribbon for, like my pumpkin centerpieces. It holds up a little bit better. But 99.9% of the time, I'm using wired ribbon, and I recommend it when you're designing bows like this. It definitely works a lot better than non-wired.
Cynthia would like to know where she can get a Bowdabra.
So you can order these on Amazon, Bowdabra.com. There will be a link in the comment section that you can purchase them from. Joann's, I believe, carries them because that's where I think I got mine years and years back. Hobby Lobby carries them. Michael's carries them. I saw them in Michael's last week. I believe Hobby Lobby carries them. I could be mistaken, but they should have them. And if they don't, they should get them. So here's the little dog paw print bow. What we're going to do now is just quickly dovetail. This is the most important part with bow making, I believe, is finishing off your bow. So we're just going to cut off our tails at an angle.
Sue would like to know, is there a certain direction you twist your ribbon?
Nope, as long as it's 180 degrees. So as long as the printed side is upside down, if that makes sense, so that it becomes shown once you flip the ribbon over. That's something you just got to practice as well. So ribbons like this, there is a side that is the printed side and then a side you don't want showing on the top. Whereas other ribbons like the gingham ribbon that we worked with or the solid canvas blue one that we had, those ones don't really have a top, but it's a great idea and a great habit to get into of switching your ribbons over. So here we have the little paw print ribbon. This would look great virtually anywhere. I think these are just the cutest little ribbons around. So we have this one. How much time do we got?
It is 7:20.
7:20. All right. So we've cranked out 3 bows in 20 minutes. Let's do this. This was one of my favorite ribbons. I say that about every ribbon. I don't know. But we're going to use, probably not this one. We're going to use a solid 1.5 inch magenta. Is that what you would call this color? I'd say magenta.
Yeah.
A magenta. And then a lime green polka dot one. So this one is actually probably the most expensive one we're working with today in the bunch. This one's maybe $6 or $7 for a 10-yard spool. Still not bad. This one's probably about $4. And you can pick up both of these at trendytree.com. And let's cut a piece of wire. So as I said before, I cut my wires a little bit longer, just in case we need it a little bit longer. So again, if you don't mind sharing this video, I greatly appreciate it. It helps us reach more and more people. And we're going to start off with the 2.5 inch. Let's cut off some tails. So these tails are probably about the same length, about 24 inches each. Take our ribbons, and this one's probably the perfect example to show you guys how to dovetail. Take these 2 ribbons, I'm lying them on top of each other. We're going to take them again, fold them in half, and cut from the middle out towards the wired edge. You can feel the wire on this side, and obviously you know that's the edge, so we're going to cut from this side to that side. And then we can take our bow, our tails, place them back in our bow, cut another length of tails, and this one maybe we'll curl up afterwards, so maybe we'll cut this one a little bit longer. Since we're going to probably curl this up, we don't even need to dovetail this one.
We have a few people wondering where they can get the wire.
So I believe this is on their website as well. I'm not 100% sure if it's on Amazon, but I will have a link in the comments for this. We're going to run out some of the 2.5 inch, some of the 1.5 inch, and then we're going to take these, we're going to place them on top of each other. So that the 1.5 inch is in basically the middle stripe that matches it. And even though these two colors are very similar, actually they're pretty much the exact same, I think it'll just add some texture by having two of these different ribbons versus one. So here's where we're going to twist. So you can twist it this way, you can twist it that way. I'm left-handed, so I just naturally want to twist it this way. I don't even know if this is a reason to say I'm left-handed, but I'm just going to twist it 180 degrees so that the side we don't want showing is on top, and then when we gather our loop, it'll be showing again. So I'm just going to drop off our ribbons to the floor, grab some of them, and then continue that. So this is where people were asking earlier why I twist my Bowdabra. It's just a habit that I've gotten into. I used to use the Bowdabra for basically mass production at Christmas time with my non-wired red velvet bows. So I've kind of maneuvered my hands to be able to make as many bows as possible. And once you guys get the hang of it, you can produce, you know, easily a bow a minute, at least if you're really cranking it out. Of course, I'm taking my time, making sure to show you guys step by step what we're doing. But if I wasn't talking, I had some Christmas music on right now, I could crank these bows out real fast. And you guys will be able to too. Once you have a little practice, it makes it a lot easier creating bows. So these loops are going to be extra large. This is going to be a decent sized bow. And this would look great on a mailbox. You know, we kind of have a funky mailbox outside where I don't necessarily want to place something on top of it because it'll hide the lettering. So I kind of usually do a swag or a big bow cascading down one side of it, and that seems to work the best for me. And I think this bow would be perfect on either side. All right, let's do one more loop. Actually, yeah, we'll do one more after this one. I lied. So we have one more loop.
Mary would like to know where you buy most of your ribbon.
So I get my ribbon everywhere. You can get your ribbon from Trendy Tree, from Deco Exchange, Craft Outlet. Typically, I like to support smaller businesses, so like Trendy Tree, Deco Exchange, Jacobson Floral in Boston, Mass. has a great selection of ribbon.
We have our winner for tonight.
Awesome.
Our winner is Connie Lanham.
Congratulations, Connie. You won a free roll of your choice of red, silver, or gold scrunchy ribbon, I believe. So that's amazing. I mean, who doesn't love free ribbon? I would be psyched. So we're going to do the same thing. Take one piece of the wire, fold it over from the back, and create a little knot. And then we can fluff open our bow. Pull apart our loops. But again, if you have any questions, you could feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I will go back after this video and answer all of your comments as well. So if there's something you missed or something you're interested in seeing for the next video, please let us know. And I will be live the first Monday at 7 p.m. of each month on Bowdabra. So if you'd like to see more tutorials, you know, that's the time to watch. Let's pull this tail down. So now we can just run our fingers through the wires, getting any creases out.
Bless you.
Bless you. Any wrinkles.
Thank you.
And here we have a very simple 2-ribbon bow. All right, how much time do we got now?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. All right, let's squeeze in one more tutorial, creating just a smaller, tiny little bow. So here we have one of my favorite ribbons that you actually can see behind me on the bunny wreath that we created the other day. And this is just a leftover portion of that wreath with a little dot. So we're just going to create a very simple, tiny little bow tie, which I think looks great anywhere. So we're going to take a little length of wire, place it into our Bowdabra again. Put the wire underneath our Bowdabra so it's out of our way. And I have little ribbon tails everywhere. Take this ribbon, and we can do it in steps. Let's do it in steps. We're going to cut our tails off. Dovetail. And what we're going to do here, I'll do it backwards so you guys can get a better view, is we're going to take our ribbon, place it upside down like that, and then this is where I twist my Bowdabra. If you didn't want to twist it, all you have to do is just work your hands like this, but I like to twist mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, twist it, one twist, flip our ribbon 180 degrees, create another little bow tie or loop, and just continue making them. We're going to do 4 of them on this. And we've ran out of ribbon, so now we're just going to create a small little bow tie, a small little loop. So I'm going to cut this one so that's even actually smaller and place that. So notice we have 2 loops on one side that are the same length, and then one that's about 3/4 of an inch smaller. The smaller one's going to go dead smack in the middle. Take our wires, pull them out. Pull them from behind. Take one of the wires, wrap it around the bow. Wrap it again. You don't want to lose your bow. Take our tails, pull them down. Open up the 2 loops on either side. Run your fingers through them, get them exactly to your liking. So we always want to leave a little bit of an overhang, but you don't want to leave enough where it's definitely noticeable. And there we have a little bow tie. All right, so we've created, how many bows? Too many. We've created this one. We've created this one. We created the dog paw print wreath bow, a 2-ribbon gingham, and a 2.5 inch and 1.5 inch Icy Blue, baby blue bow. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. It's been a pleasure being on Bowdabra today, and I hope Sandy feels better, and definitely leave a comment down below wishing her the best. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned something new, and I'll see you all the first Monday of February. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.